And we're live with One Piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we are, finally doing Whole Cake Island partially. It's definitely too big to do in one sitting, but it's funny because we were gonna do this last week, but Dune's a very long movie, so we couldn't. And back then, it was it was still before certain twists. We could have gotten Virgin Bradley to those twists, but then like the very next day he read like 30 chapters, so those twists are no longer valid. But we'll talk about them as they show up.
Yeah, I didn't have to work last week, so I was like, you know what?
Yeah, you
You know
got
what I
pretty
need to be
far.
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is like an arc I've been looking forward to doing. There was like three major arcs that when we started this, probably like what is it, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Maybe less by a little bit.
We,
But I was
we
like,
did
Ennie's Lobby, Marine Ford, and Whole Cake are like the ones I wanted to really hit.
Yeah.
And here we are. Okay, so uh, as usual, I've grabbed us some points of discussions and screenshots. I went a little overzealous, so I'll try to be good. But it's just an arc where there's a lot of stuff I feel like that could be talked
An,
about.
an arc where every panel is fire.
Uh, there's a chapter where I was like, I just gotta grab whole pages because I don't know what not to grab. So we start off the arc as we'll recall. We're leaving Zoe. Fuck, I forgot which one. Someone will correct us, and that'll be comments. So that's good.
Zoo.
Zoo. And we're going to go rescue Sanji or something like that. It might not go
Yeah.
as smoothly, but we start off with like this little introduction chapter on Germa 66 or Germa double six is how you pronounce it in case you were
Yeah.
curious. And Germa double six is known all across the blues as a comic strip that's based off of the kingdom that Sanji's actually from. And I thought it was pretty neat that like first of all cool that a comic strip like this exists. Like if there's this scientifically advanced civilization, I feel like you could definitely make some source material out of them. But I think the cooler part is that it's used as like Navy propaganda because I think in the comic strips, they're the bad guys, the German double six, just like in real life. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It makes total sense that in the world of One Piece, like it's easy to forget, but people really do trust the Marines and the world government, and propaganda like this just slots in quite nicely.
I think it's interesting too that like they're kind of like an actual like almost government entity that's against the world government. You know?
Yeah. We'll touch on that later. They have an interesting place among the world government. I grabbed this because, as you'll recall, the joke that Chopper would be emergency food supplies is a joke that Sanji has used many times throughout the series. And now that Sanji's out of the crew, that joke is becoming more real, and I just think that's very funny. That's
I
not.
like that.
Keeps on giving.
I like that we get more Grand Island like shenanigans with their weather
Yeah, there's
and the
oh, dude, the world building and like interesting locations they go to are super cool. In these upcoming chapters. Well, I'm fucking with my audio a little bit. Okay. Next up, shit. I've lost sight of. There we go. Okay. So we get the first introduction to any of the Germa characters. We get introduced to Yonji and Reiju first. We'll get introduced to the others a little bit later in this chapter or the next. And Reiju certainly makes an impression as she shows up and gives Luffy what I would believe is his first kiss. Although she's fucking the soul out of
Probably his best.
him. Can't top
Yeah.
this.
yeah,
Sorry, Boa.
literally sucking the life back into him.
Boa would turn herself to stone before she could bring herself to kiss Luffy.
That's
Just
true.
too much of a
I
sin.
just want to point out these holes or these whatever markings. I don't like them. I am not a fan.
Yeah, it's creepy looking for sure. The poison like under the skin.
Yeah.
Oh
Ooh.
yeah.
But I love her
Yeah.
wings that sprout whenever she's like
Yeah.
doing poison shit. I think that looks
She's
really
super
cool.
cool. So this will probably get introduced later, but like Reiju is Zero Bradley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this chapter is even called 0 and 4, but I guess that's hard to. If you don't know Japanese, you wouldn't understand what that's referring to. That it's Reiju and Yonji.
That could have been Sabo and who's the fourth one? Sanji, I guess.
Oh,
Is it?
No, it's the third one, Sanji. Anyways,
I thought. Okay.
Bradley, you seem to have forgotten this chapter, so I was gonna ask like, what were your first impressions of like their designs? But I mean that applies in general.
yeah. So like the Power Ranger thing was, I think even with just these two, I was able to get the Power Ranger vibe.
Yeah.
Because like uniforms, numbers, shit like that. It's really cool. It's really funny because the other day when we were talking about doing this podcast, I had forgot this chapter happened because I finished Dressrosa, and then I did a couple more chapters, and I think I read this one.
Yeah, it's the very first one after we stopped talking on the podcast.
Yeah, I took a break for a couple months or more, and then you guys had mentioned this stuff happening. I was like, what the fuck? Luffy, they met Reiju and Yonji on the ship, and she kissed Luffy. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, what chapter did that happen in? And you were like, 826. Where'd you leave off? And I was like, I don't know, like 826.
I feel like this is maybe potentially even important because I feel like it serves to kind of like okay, so like she doesn't come off as like particularly nice, but Reiju does help Luffy out here, and we're supposed to maybe have this idea that Reiju is not as bad as the rest of them. It's hard to tell right now, but it becomes more clear as the arc goes on, and I feel like this was set up for that. Next up, so more full circle jokes. Like,
oh my god,
the Duval poster, like becoming like they become aware of it. And I think it says they go after Duval, so it's like these jokes are really feeding into each other. Oda just loves layering his story on itself.
Duval is still funny. I love that shit
Forever. Okay, we get to Whole Cake, and this place looks so cool. Like,
it's poppin'. Let's go.
This particular island is the chocolate one, and we are told that all of the like 36 islands in Toto Land have a particular theme in candy, and like all the citizens here live pretty happily. And you gotta like, I feel like once you get to Dressrosa, you already know things are a little sus because Doflamingo's the king. With Big Mom, I think when I first got here, it doesn't seem as bad, and we'll talk about the living conditions of living in Toto Land as we go on through these talks, but it's definitely something that I think contrasts a little bit with Dressrosa. Yeah, here we get like the layout of Toto Land. All the buildings are made of candy, and we also get the first hint of something that'll become pretty important later. All the different races that live happily in Toto Land. Again, selling this idea of a dreamland, but then again, like, Dressrosa sells the toy thing as something pretty inane and cute at first, and then it becomes very dark once you get deeper into it. I think
it's
Go on.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I think it's interesting that Oda has introduced these like, it's definitely intentional, but like he introduces these very whimsical islands at this point comparatively. Like you have like the island of toys, like that's such a kid fantasy, and then you now have the island of cake and chocolate and everything.
Yeah, and you have the island of elephant where all the houses are big fruits. But these settings for these arcs, like he's been hitting it out. I mean, he's always hit it out of the park, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely been on fire these last few arcs. But also, like, just like they feel very lived in because we get this little thing about like, so can we eat the buildings? And Pecums goes into like what you can or can't eat and all these regulations that they place, and it's just really well thought out. Like Oda usually, especially as the story has gotten more complex, he can leave some of these little nitty gritty stuff for SBSs a lot of the time, but like. I think he still squeezes a lot of this cool stuff into Dressrosa and Whole Cake, which make them some of my favorite settings in all of One Piece.
And I also like how he foreshadows the existence of characters like the Minister of Biscuits and the Minister of Candy, because we meet them later.
Yeah, exactly. We also meet Pudding here, who's
my god. I was so in love with her, dude.
Pudding, everyone's in love with Pudding. She's the sweetest. Man, putting her designs, she's like one of the cuter Namis because she's got like lips that set her aside from the other Namis.
Uh-huh.
And a little slime friend, and I love her little carpet and like Aladdin pants, just a very very cute design.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like
So
So sad.
immediately bails the Straw Hats out of the situation, so she
Mhm.
starts off as an ally, and
I
it's
was
not.
so sad when I found out she was the girl because I was like, oh no, she's perfect for Sanji. No.
And she sure is. What was that, Joe?
um so fun fact, this isn't the first time we see pudding.
It's not, but there will be an SBS that
Yeah.
covers that, which is pretty neat.
Yeah. Mhm.
Next up we got Big Mom's introduction. So we were talking about great introductions with Kaido, and I feel like Big
Yeah.
Mom has an equally amazing introduction for a different reason. So Kaido falls off the island and gets that narrator text of on land, sea, and air, you always bet Kaido. He's lost a bunch of times, but he always bounces back. He's searching for a cool death. But with Big Mom, her big introduction into the story is a musical with all these fucked up homies, and like this is the first time you're really seeing like how disturbing the actual imagery of all these homies are. Um and the fact that they're called homies, which is addressed later,
Yeah.
is just
I
fantastic.
love that.
And as she's doing this musical, she's singing about like certain ingredients. Like, do you have the flour? And they're like, yes, mama. And you get these little panels of her children and her crewmates like murdering and ransacking villages just to get ingredients for a wedding cake. And I feel like that so perfectly sells what kind of antagonist we're dealing with here.
Man, this is just like an extremely memorable panel. This is like when I first saw this page, I just had this feeling of like, boom, it's a green light. We're finally doing what you've all been waiting for. This is one of the 4 Emperor arcs, and it
Yeah.
starts right now.
And as you're reading it, like, you eventually get uncomfortable because, like, man, we're seeing Big Mom a lot. Like, I'm used to, like,
Yeah.
years of seeing these people in shadows and just, like, panel per panel. Like, we've seen Big Mom laying down in shadow back in Fishman Island, and we see, like, Kaido in shadow here and there. But, like, we're getting her, like, almost every chapter, and you're just like, oh, shit, One Piece is going to end one day. It's
Like
actually,
we're good.
Yeah.
it's actually
Yeah.
going to happen one day.
I also love just the contrast of the lyrics being sung in like this
Yeah.
in this panel because they're all about
Yeah.
killing and just demolishing, and they do have this very whimsical take. And I was like compared Whole Cake Island to Thriller Bark because they're almost the inverse of each other, and I always got the inverse feeling.
I compare if Whole Cake Island has a pre-time skip comparison, I actually think it's Ennie's Lobby. But yeah, I could see there's definitely some Thriller Bark
Well,
in here.
Like just the setting wise, because
Yeah.
I think Thriller Bark, like it's
Yeah.
spooky, scary, but it's hilarious because they're just all goofballs. You have the stupid tree and the unicorn, whereas Whole Cake,
and
it's
this is like-
very whimsical.
It's like cute, disturbing mix.
Yeah, everything's whimsical, and then
Yeah,
you
like-
find out like what it costs to live here, and you're just like, oh,
Yeah, my favorite lines here is it's strawberry jam or someone's blood. Either one is fine.
yeah.
And then she ends with like, oh, he's coming to the island, Straw Hat. In the anime, this scene is also great. So Big Mom is literally the biggest mom. She has 39 daughters and 46 sons. Literally the big mom. And she's had a bunch of husbands, and the family's huge, and the crew also has like non-family members. So like the organization of her crew is very fascinating. And we got some times later on in the arc where we can circle back and talk about the structure of her crew. But were you surprised that she had like a bunch of kids? I don't know if it was mentioned up till now that that's how this worked.
I
No.
guess I shouldn't be surprised that she has so many.
I wonder what the
Big
most
mom, after all.
Yeah, I wonder what the most like real life children is. If
It's
someone,
It's
Johnny
probably
8
like-
plus 8 on TLC.
there'd definitely be a TV show about it. I could see it being 20.
I could see 20 as well.
happening. Some
Yeah.
shit like that.
One of the best jokes. Sanji turned down a girl. They're so surprised. But this is the first time like Luffy comes here, and it's like he's not really sure what Sanji wants to do, but here it becomes clear that he does kind of want to come back to the crew. And you got to keep that in mind that this is Luffy's mindset the next time he sees Sanji. It's a pretty positive mindset that'll lead to horrible times for our boy.
Yeah.
We get introduced to Ichiji and Iji here. They're just wrapping up a war, and Ichiji hits this fire line of, "You took 4 hours of my time. I've got to be at my brother's wedding. I'm not interested in your family." Like, goddamn.
God damn.
I think later on, Niji's like, "Oh, we should have sold weapons to the both of them and fucked them both over and got more money." Like, Germa is a mercenary kingdom, and just these little scenes of them saving this country, quote unquote, like, they don't give a shit, but they just go where they're needed and wreck shop, which is a very cool introduction.
It's really scary for such powerful fighters to be mercenaries and not fight on principle.
I know, it's something that hasn't really come up in One Piece yet. Is a scenario like this, and it's cool that it's so connected to one of our main characters.
Oh, Bradley can watch One Piece Gold now. I just realized.
Oh,
that's a good one. That is much better.
Yeah, I heard that's a good one.
That's much better than Strong World IMO.
It's got Waze in it.
I could not believe. So Big Mom is going on a hunger pang rampage. So this is kind of a side effect of living here. Godzilla also lives here, and she will just eat the buildings and the homies.
And she's also your god, literally.
She's the king. I think this is also the first time we really see Prometheus and Zeus.
They were in the spread with her, but they just seemed like part of the background.
It was hard to tell that they were talking, but as we learned later on, like, Prometheus and Zeus are like her main weapons essentially in combat,
which is so cool.
It really is. Later on in the arc, it gets even cooler with them as well.
Man,
not like worth mentioning too, because it only comes up way later. It's even hard to tell in this panel that Napoleon the Hat is also a homie. So there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, would you want to live here if you were to live in the One Piece world? We'll circle back to that question because there's still more stuff to explore.
Love me a big beautiful mom.
Is Prometheus just a fire that just takes the shape of a sun? Did they ever explain what he is?
I guess he'd have to. Like, I guess he could also be a ball of plasma.
But I don't know if Big Mom knows what plasma is, but I guess.
I mean, she could feel it out. Like, she made the first plasma. Whatever. She's smart. We're gonna get into like how it's important to note that she's a rampaging beast, but we're gonna see a lot of very intelligent moments from Big Mom as we go on as well. Jinbe fucking shows up. What?
Oh man, look at that guy.
Look at that man.
Did you when did you think Jinbe would show up in the story? Because this was such a out of left field for me. I suppose
he'll probably show up in Wano or something.
I suppose it does make sense though, because we knew that like Big Mom's territory was Fishman Island, so this ties right in. And as we find out in these upcoming scenes, like, Jinbe is a straight up subordinate to Big Mom. The whole Fishman Island pirates, and so there was the new Fishman pirates, which were like Hammond and Hody, but then there was also the Sun Pirates. They're not the Sun Pirates, right? They're just the Fishman Pirates. I forget what Jinbe's crew. Jinbe's crew is different from Hody's crew. That's what I'm trying to separate in my mind.
So one thing you miss, Willer, is that fucking Big Mom just eats her son, or eats the soul of her son.
Yeah, that's true.
Gelato.
Yeah.
Or Minister Gelato, Moscato. That's his name.
I was gonna talk about it a bit later. I delete some panels when I go through it, and that was one I cut.
Okay.
Because I try to make these. I make them long, but I try to make them slightly shorter. So I love how Big Mom interacts here. She's like, what does she say that I really liked? Where is it? It might be in the next page. But just the way she reacts to Jinbe's leaving, I think is pretty interesting. But before we get that, we get a little bit flashback of Jinbe kind of leaving his crew. Because this is weird. Jinbe is the first character to be joining the Straw Hats, essentially, but he had a crew prior. I guess the Zoro and Yosaku and Johnny, but, I don't know. That was that was a weird partnership. I don't know if that counts.
Yeah.
But Jinbe was the captain of this crew, and they're like, "Yo, Cap, you keep talking about Luffy. You won't shut the fuck up about this kid. Just go. We want you to live your life." Like, this is so wholesome. Like, they're a really sweet crew, which is fitting for the sweetest boy in the story.
Also, they're called the Sun Pirates. I got to that page on the Viz, and it's on the direct left page. It's Aladdin first made the Sun Pirates. It's like, cool.
Aladdin's cool.
Oh.
We'll talk more.
Oh, that's got a fire design, I think.
So yeah, this is what I like. She's like, never ask one who leaves why they're doing it. It's pathetic. It doesn't matter in the least. I think that's such a cool way to like look at it. It's just like, it doesn't matter why you're leaving. You're not allowed to leave, and it's like, it's not going to be clean. Like, it just is what it is. And Big Mom is just a character who manifests her will. Like, and in a series like One Piece, what is the stronger power than that? If she wants a good wedding cake, she will go murder for it, and there's nothing you can do. Her empire is too powerful. It's and like,
that's the thing is like your power level in One Piece is like how powerful your will is, but a powerful will doesn't necessarily mean you're a good guy. You can have a powerful will to do very selfish things, and that's kind of what we have here.
And it feels like, aside from Shanks and Whitebeard, these other emperors are kind of on that side of the spectrum. They're using their overwhelming power and will to do bad things, because we forget that, like, okay, so Big Mom's got this going on, but Kaido's got weapon manufactory, he's got smile manufactory, like, he's dealing in all these underground businesses, and we'll figure out what that's for later. But it's just cool to think that, like, so Big Mom is like, when I got to this arc, and maybe you can tell me how you feel, Big Mom's design is very goofy, but I thought she was very intimidating from the onset, and I thought it got even it gets worse and worse as the arc goes on in how intimidating I think she is. In a good way. I think she gets more and more. And then you remember, like, at any time that, like, oh, there's someone equally as strong as her on the other side of the world that we also got to go beat eventually.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that's a pretty hype way to, like, set up future events, because it's like, oh, Kaido's ass scary and Blackbeard's among their kin. This is like a small page. I just thought it was such cool world building where this sea of candy turns hard overnight, and then all these ants come out of nowhere, and Brooke has to put them all to sleep. It's like, it's so small, but like, and they're having to like melt the ice with fire. It's just super cute. Like, only in One Piece.
It's incredible.
And the ants wake up, and then they gotta fight them. So, I note this because it might become more relevant, but the Minks are clearly now officially like a big part of the story. I mean, we got Pedro and Carrot sailing with us right now. And they really have trust in Luffy, and Pedro's like, if they showed you the road Poneglyph, it means that they really see something in you. And Pedro's going to go the distance this arc to really help the Straw Hats out. And I feel like this is one way in which they really start to show his motivations for why he's like so devoted to helping the Straw Hats. We get to Whole Cake Island proper, roll credits.
That's the name of the movie.
This is when the Kingdom Hearts Whole Cake Island thing pops up on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, oh man, I wonder what the animation would be. I feel like there'd be some there'd be a bunch of homies hopping around making the letters, and then and then all their souls get drained, and then
eye would be the actual cake.
Ooh, yes. This is a cool map in Pirate Warriors as well. I'll just throw that.
Yeah.
out.
If this is a Kingdom Hearts world, who is your extra party member you get for the duration of your stay?
You get pudding.
You get.
And then she stabs you in the back in a surprise twist.
You get pudding. You get pudding. Then you get beige.
Yeah.
Ooh. It's perfect.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
I want it now. make a One Piece story that's like that follows all the arcs, please, and it's not like a Muso. That's as good as they are. I just thought like. So, I'm sure you've noticed, like, the speech patterns of the Minks with the Yugaras and Uteyas and Wigaras. I never really, knew the difference between the Garas and the Teyas, and here, like, Oda drops that it's, like, a gender thing. It's like, what the fuck? You put so much effort into this, and it just kind of flies under the radar if you don't realize it's just kind of the world building. Just think that stuff
That's
like
what I'm saying, like, the world of One Piece is just fucking simulated in Oda's head, and he's just reporting on it. Like,
he's just a super...
he effortlessly
reporting
does
on
world building all the time.
He's big news Morgan. So I want to get a check-in for Bradley. How we feeling on like Carrot sailing with the Straw Hats, potential party member? What do you think? Because this panel, I just love her interactions with Luffy and Chopper here and Nami.
I will allow her to be like a tier below Vivi. Like, I'm probably not gonna call her a Straw Hat, but like, yo, Carrot was with the Straw Hats for a long time. You feel me?
Okay, so you're not team like you wouldn't want her to join the crew proper.
I don't know. I don't think so, man.
Is this a character thing, or is this just a facing your fears thing?
I feel like. I think also narratively, it would just kind of feel weird to me. I feel like everyone else kind of had a much bigger deal, like, you know, an entire arc throughout which you know that character is going to join the crew, and then at the end of it, it's like, okay, fine, I'll join the crew.
I feel, yeah, so I mean, this is a check I'll do later in the arc as well. I just want, like, we don't have, like, a Carrot flashback yet, and, like, she's in an arc that's much bigger than herself. I will say, though, Frankie does get a big flashback, but it's still hard to say if he's gonna be the one until like I'd say late in the arc. Like as we were reading it weekly, I think I mentioned like we all thought like Polly or Kaku might also be viable, and Robin just joins out of nowhere, and Jinbe is like. When Luffy asked Jinbe to join, I think it's actually pretty surprising. It might have been less surprising for Bradley because he had the volume covers. So but on a week to week read, it was very surprising for everyone when like Jinbe properly got asked to join.
Oh.
So Oda's been mixing it up. That's all I'm saying. It's hard to tell these days.
They're gonna put her in the Straw Hat. The editors are gonna be like, "You gotta put her in the Straw Hat crew because she's up in the popularity poll."
Yeah, she is. she's actually quite popular. She got like what 11 or 9. So in the worldwide.
Of course she did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, another character got higher, and I got choice words about that.
What the fuck? I'm ready for the next one.
You're gonna like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is just a very funny joke because like Luffy's the straight man of this joke.
Yeah.
Like she's like a talking crocodile with hat. That's ridiculous. And Luffy's like, okay, seriously, like. Just look around you.
Dude, like as soon as I saw the Super Lobster Express in One Piece, I was like, anything's on the table.
It's just like Carrot and Chopper's face is like, we're here.
I like Luffy pointing at them.
It's like, come on, man. All right, I capture this. We get into the Seducing Woods in 831. Just worth noting. Because when you're reading the Seducing Woods the first time I did it, I was like, wow, this is actually a pretty long, like a longer section than I was ready for. But it's also easy to forget how much Sanji stuff is happening in between it. And I think we leave the Seducing Woods, I think 840. So it's about 10 chapters on and off. I believe. We'll see. I think I noted when we leave. We get introduced to Brûlé. Well,
this arc has maybe the best Nami outfit.
I think it's up there for sure.
It's up there, dude.
It's definitely up there.
She gets a second outfit in the second half of the arc.
She does.
I like them both, but I think I like this one more. I haven't gotten to the second half on my reread yet.
We'll see. We'll see.
What's the name of the? What? What's the name of the big boy with hands and is buried in the ground?
Pound.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
What do you mean, fuck Pound? Pound is
ground dweller.
You know why?
That's not. None of that is his fault. Okay, Brûlé gets introduced. I just want to say Brûlé has a great design and is going to be very important. I mean, she's kind of the antagonist for the first half of this little Seducing Wood section. She's making a bunch of miraclones, but she becomes very important. Okay, we get.
I like how she has Big Mom's nose.
I like how she's an ugly witch with huge ass. Her tits are like like she's got the One Piece body, but then the witch face, which is just very funny. So this setup of the Germa Kingdom is so cool to me.
Pretty badass.
Yeah,
it's a bunch of giant seafaring snails, and they can cross the red line. When you think about it, that makes Sanji the only character to have crossed a portion of the red line that we know of, aside from like maybe the Celestial Dragons and when everyone's going over Reverse Mountain, but I would say that's different. Like they straight up just go over the one continent in One Piece, which is like, I have like crack theories of like, what if when you go to the top, like something happens to your body, and then like maybe that's why blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. It's just I want to know more about the Red Line. It's like it's been in the story since like chapter 100, and we know fuck all about it. Aside from like, I think at one point Nami says it's like a chain of interlinking like summer islands and winter like. It's interchanging islands that are all like kind of linked together. They all have like their own little climates. It's been a while, but it's just very mysterious. Interesting also that the kingdom is mostly of men. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that's going to be introduced about Sanji's backstory that I feel like perfectly explains why Sanji's the way it is, to the point where it's like, there's no way Oda planned all of this ahead of time, but also it fits so well into the story to where like maybe he just fucking did, because there's a couple of hints that Sanji is from the North Blue and like is from a royal family. There's when he calls himself Mr. Prince in Alabasta. There's even a moment in when they're doing the like submarine dive in Jaya where they're like doing the ship salvage. Sanji finds a picture of someone who looks like his mom. And he just looks at it longingly, not doing his pervert shit. And it's like, that's kind of odd. Like, so Oda clearly has had a lot of this planned ahead of time, but it's just, I'd love to know how much, because it fits really well into the story.
There's also the shot of, so they go and talk to Cricket in Jaya as well, and Cricket is telling them, number one, he points out about the story of Noland as a North Blue tale, and says that he's from there. But then Cricket starts talking about how, like, you know, it's hard to be ashamed of your family and all that they've done, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, you see everyone's in the background, but Sanji's in the foreground just blacked out, having a cigarette. And it looks like he's just staring to the side, like he's really contemplating what Cricket's saying.
At the very least, I think it's pretty clear Oda always had an idea of a Sanji family drama arc.
And I think, like, the idea of Sanji being like part of a much larger family that he was separated from them, I think has been there at least since
the start,
moment.
Honestly, probably.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's hard to tell like when that he might have thought that idea. I think at least Jaya, maybe back in Little Garden, but
we get introduced to Judge, Father of the Year, Vince Smoke Judge. What do you think of his design, Bradley? I think he looks pretty fucking cool. I like his butt chin.
He's cool. Germa 66. I don't know what, like, I couldn't pick one thing to point to prove this, but they feel Nazi-ish to me.
Man. I will show you the exact panel that proves they're fucking
Don't
Nazis.
worry, it's there.
Yeah. Oh well, we're gonna unpack. Now you were like unsure.
I'm glad I'm not crazy.
You were like, I'm unsure if I should say this, and we're just like, nah, fam. Big knots.
Also, don't forget Germa, German.
Yeah.
Jesus.
All Germans are Hitler.
Yeah, Oda is from Japan. Don't think he fucking wouldn't. Okay, because he would. So we're getting into we get introduced to this idea where like cooking was kind of a hot topic for them, and we're getting introduced to like Judge's mentality and how it kind of contrasts with Sanji, and it becomes more and more clear that like they're very different. But for one thing that's interesting here, a panel before this, Judge is like, why aren't go pick up a sword? I taught you how to fight with a blade. And here Sanji's like, my hands are used only for cooking, yada yada. That's interesting though. Sanji was taught how to fight with a sword? That's kind of... That feels like it's set up for something. Like, so we have the moment where Sanji fights with a knife and he fucking goes ham, right?
Oh yeah.
But that's a knife, so you can also say that that's just his cooking. If you gave Sanji and forced him to fight with a katana, would he be able to like just pull out some crazy shit? That'd be sick. However, I feel like there would be a time for him to do it. Like, I feel like this might happen. I'm putting this into the ether. I feel like,
shockingly, Willer, this comes up in the Sanji side stories.
Really?
Yes.
If Oda allowed it to come up in the side stories, maybe it won't come back into the main story.
Yeah, he does use a sword in one of those.
What?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a thing. People, I watch so many One Piece videos. I feel like no one ever talks about the fact that Sanji's trained on the blade, but we'll see.
Yeah. No, I agree though.
Pirate warriors.
Yeah. Okay, man, I love this little the little fights that Sanji has with his dad and his brothers.
Oh yeah.
The brutality in One Piece is just always so lovely. Like you know that no one dies, so it's okay. But like Jesus Christ, he's just like shield or wall, and then like he just straight uses him as a wall, and they don't give a shit. It's crazy.
Dude, I was just looking at this page for like 20 straight seconds, like. I was like, am I seeing this right? Did he really just do that?
The audacity of this man.
I know.
Like,
I was like, Jesus.
Sanji's so clearly like put off by the casual use of life that his family shows, and like their fucking sociopathy. Like it's so unsettling for Sanji, which makes these scenes like the tension in these scenes are so palpable and just delicious. Honestly,
This isn't a move he can do in Pirate Wars, right? He can't summon dudes, can he? I can't remember.
I think he has a move called Wall.
Okay.
He has one of those auto counters, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're also gonna reveal who we're gonna Smash Brothers Ultimate you and reveal who in this roster is playable. So Judge is playable. Actually, the entire Germa is playable, and they all play super fun.
Yeah.
Anyone else that we've met so far? Brulee's an
Mom.
NPC. Yeah, Big Mom's playable,
Okay.
of course. Holy shit, is she playable? We'll leave it there. I think that's.
Yeah.
And we talked about how Bart and Cavendish are playable from Dressrosa and Doflamingo. Okay.
Carrot as well.
Carrot's playable.
Of course.
Yeah. Carrot fucking goes hard. She's really busted in that game.
She's very fun. So Judge's motives here are explained in this, where it's like, so I wanted to hook up with Big Mom, and like she wants my technology, and I want her power. We want to go claim the North Blue because we deserve it. We're entitled royalty, and if there's one thing One Piece has a firm stance on, is that fuck the royalty and the upper class. And then he's like, well, shit, I didn't want to give one of my beautiful sons to one of her Uggo daughters, but I had a failure of a son somewhere in the world, so that he put out the bounty for Only Alive. So it's like, he just forgot that Sanji existed until like this dilemma comes up. He's like, well, I got a use for my son. Just like,
God.
Judge. There's no point in getting into it now because there's just going to be so many moments of how bad Judge is. We're also we've known since I think Zhao that they were threatening Zeph's life, but these little flashbacks of like Sanji really realizing his predicament are very frustrating as an audience viewer, because like, you're gonna lose your hands and we're gonna kill Zeph, and Sanji's just stuck in such a shit situation. We're gonna talk about how this contrasts a little bit to a similar situation that happened with Robin and Usopp, because I feel like Oda plays this quite differently, despite you might say, oh, this is just a repeat of Eddie's Lobby, because someone's gonna make that argument out there, and they're stupid, but sure, there are definitely similar themes, but I think they're played very differently. We get to see a little bit of Big Mom's intelligency network at play, which I personally was pretty impressed at how well they show don't tell that Big Mom has a really good intelligence network. Like, she knows all this shit. She her crewmates are casually talking about road poneglyphs later. Like, you can tell that the information base in this island is much higher than anyone we've met before. Like, they clearly they know pretty much almost as much as the Straw Hats do, and then some. Like, they know more beyond them as well. Because, they're like, oh, we know all of them who are in the island. 3 of them are currently in the Seducing Woods. 2 of them are sneaking around. We're just going to find them. And Brook and Pidge are like, fuck, they know everything. Bam! Peckham's dies, maybe. It's looking pretty fatal, though. Man, Beige is just so cool, because you already know that you're going to turn around on this guy in a couple. But he's such a good villain while he is a villain, and then he's such a good ally when he's an ally.
But yeah, that motherfucker's 0% dead.
You know who else is a good villain and then good ally? Gangster Gastino. Caesar's
man.
Caesar's just such a good character. He's not the strongest villain Luffy fights, but he's very annoying in that arc, and you want to see him go down. But I also love how he sticks around in the story in a very intangible way.
I also love that this happened whenever either Big Mom or one of her fucking people asked him if he could finished the gigantification serum, and he's thinking all of this in his head, and then after like a page of it, they're like, "Why are you making all those faces? Can you do it or not?"
Oh yeah,
It's such a good gag. I love how he's like, and then I called all those girl ships to the island so I could. Yeah, he's a fucking bro. I want to party with Caesar, dude.
Yeah, dude.
You'll have to wear a gas mask so he doesn't accidentally knock you out or some shit. But
Unless you want that.
yeah, but like this idea that this motherfucker had the gall to like squeeze money out of both Kaido and Big Mom is just like, you are the most insane man in the Grand Line.
Bold motherfucker.
Bold. And then yeah, Big Mom's like, so you're gonna do it in like a week or two, right? I'll get you the money, and he's like, well, I can't. I lie to you. And then we get introduced to Paros.
yo, fireman.
So there's a couple characters in one. We talked about it in a previous talk where it's like there's certain characters in One Piece where like just inexplicably you really like them. I feel like a lot of people like Paros, and I am one of them. And it'll become more clear like near the end of the arc. But Paros is a very cool character to be as far as antagonist goes.
You really feel Caesar's pressure here. He's like, 2 weeks and I'll be dead. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't even entertain the possibility of this work getting finished. He's like, I either escape or I die.
Because
like,
you know he's smart enough to where like he put the time in and like he didn't come to that conclusion without trying. Paros design as a fucked up Willy Wonka is also fantastic.
Oh yeah.
While we're at it.
So I when I was reading this the first time, I misread the eldest son of Big Mom. I misread that for some reason. Like I just went straight to the Paros part. I didn't read the top half of that, and I looked at them and I was like, "This character looks like my aunt," and I was just like, "Oh no."
Well, they are. So yeah, they're the oldest her oldest son, but not one of the sweet three. But you can tell as the arc goes on that he's like right below them as far as like sway and being good at doing his job.
Yeah.
Another old character in the Big Mom Pirates. Actually, Brule is older than she looks, as I recall. But regardless, she's got the mirror fruit, which is a very cool fruit that will be very important as a plot device throughout this entire arc. This fruit, this arc could not happen without this lady right here. Also, we're back to Pact, Bradley. We did it.
I know. As soon as I saw the mirror world, I was like, oh, well, okay, here we
Let's
go.
fucking go. We're a bunch of vestiges, baby. All right. So, a very important part of the whole Cake Island world building. Pound is telling us this. Pound is an old husband of Big Mom. We'll talk about him later. So twice a year, you have to give 1 year of your life. Is that how it works? No, 1 month. So 2 months every year. Yeah, it's 1 month every 6 months of your life, which is interesting. Yeah. So like, I will still like living in Whole Cake Island seems still pretty chill. We haven't run into like the fucked up like, oh, we're actively fucking over the citizens like in Dressrosa. Like, no one's getting turned into a toy, or like the homies aren't secretly human beings or anything like that. It's just like Big Mom, to fuel her fruit, takes a tax on her people. And it's like, is that a fair trade? Because there's a lot of shit places to live in the One Piece world, right?
Yeah, like a lot of people probably deliberately go here for protection. It's like, yeah, maybe I'll live my life this % less long, but, I don't have to worry about getting fucked up by all these people wanting to be a new warlord or a new emperor.
Exactly. Like no one's gonna walk into this territory and terrorize the people and get away with it. Like the most you could do is a stealth mission like Luffy's doing right now. Stealth, big quotes.
Yeah.
Dude, Lola connection this late into the series.
My God, it's happening.
Can you believe this shit?
I was like, Lola's mom's gonna happen sooner or later, and it was kind of sooner.
Yeah, I think you even said that not too long ago in one of these talks. So I'm glad you didn't forget. And you know what's cute? Like Nami did have a very sweet relationship with both Lola's warthog form and Lola. So like it's I feel like it's I really like the party that they brought to Whole Cake Island. If you were to break up the Straw Hat crew, I think they did it perfectly.
Nami and Lola's such a wholesome friendship. I fucking love it.
It is. They're like besties.
They really are kind of besties. I don't know. I don't even know why, but man.
And Lola really saved their life retroactively by giving the Vivre card to Nami, which is so. There's two big plot devices in this arc: the Mirror World, and this fucking Vivre card gets so much mileage. Nami knows how to use these advantages that are given to her.
Yeah. I think it's also funny too is that after we finished Thriller Bark, Bradley made a joke saying that Lola's mom's probably an Emperor of the Sea or some shit.
Oh
and,
no way!
Yeah. I had to like mute my mic.
Bradley, you got a banger theory confirmed because Thriller Bark was like what chapter 400, so 500 chapter later, almost.
You know what? Give me my points.
You get some points. You get some points.
What do you think about Cracker? This design.
Well, this design Cracker looks cool. I like the other one better.
Same.
Yeah, I think they both look cool, honestly.
Yeah, like he's just like a big Cracker warrior guy, but like this design doesn't scream like competent as much as the second one does. This one seems like someone Luffy was like beat with like a Gear 3 punch, even though like he's clearly like even this is too much for Gear 3 to handle, but. Luffy says something like, when you see someone dozens of times, you can't help but get attached. Like, that's interesting because it feels like a new sentiment for Luffy, but when you look back at the story, it kind of applies to a lot of different places where, like, Luffy will just kind of befriend you even if you were mean to him. Like,
that's the thing. Like, with Boogie, like, when he saw Boogie, even though, like, there was never any reconciliation, nothing to make them friends, just... the fact that he had seen him before, he's like, "Hey, Boogie, what's up, man?"
It's like if Luffy asks if you're gonna be cool, and you give him an answer, he can usually tell if you're gonna be cool or not. Like, are you gonna be nice, Crocodile? Okay, then let's work together. Let's be friends. Now, I will say, Pudding got his ass. That's Pudding 1, Luffy 0.
That is true.
Formally introduced to Cracker. Let's talk about some bounties, because, like, 860 is one of the highest we've seen so far.
Man.
Luffy says, I don't know any way to fight other than serious. And it's just like, just think about that line for a little bit. Like, yeah.
Like, even when he was fighting against Usopp, who's a dear friend, he, like, fucking kind of put the smack down, didn't he?
True, but then you also think what serious means to Luffy, and you get Water Luffy, you get Gum Gum Idiot, like when he just like turns his mind off and dodges Eneru's moves.
You get Stuffed Tank mode later.
Yeah, like it's just he is right. He never he doesn't really hold back. Interestingly though, he will hold back in a little bit. But he also fights like an idiot, so it's just a funny line. So, the fucking pumpkins. We've loved these pumpkins for years now.
Oh, yeah.
Legitimately. The pumpkins from Skypiea, which, fucking, what's his name? Gan4, even, like, he shouts out to Wiper. It's like, Wiper, I love pumpkins. Like, as a way to, like, connect their race. And it's just cool that and we didn't even catch this. They're in fucking Dressrosa. Like, Oda does not forget his notebooks and his databases must be so good. Because he just keeps coming back, like, bringing back these little things that even I forget about.
Man, and, like, One Piece is a story where everybody feels like... every character feels like their own tall tale, larger-than-life figure. But among all of these larger-than-life figures, Noland actually feels like a legend within the world of One Piece to me. Like, he's been everywhere, met everyone, done everything.
If there's like
he's so cool.
There's like so like in a tier list of like legend status, like there's Gold Roger, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Nolan's not far below.
He's pretty close behind.
He's pretty like maybe we're giving him too much props. I think Nolan's a fucking legend. Cuz
he's
like
kind of underrated because I feel like a lot of his journeys and travels weren't even like documented within their world.
That's the thing, like they didn't believe a lot of what he said in the end of it. And he's not as strong as some of the other legends in One Piece, but I feel like he saw some shit. Like we're going to find out that like Noland met Joy Boy or some shit, which by Joy Boy would be like
oh my god, I forgot that was even a thing.
It's so easy. It's so easy to forget about Joy Boy cuz we talked about him in Fishman Island, and then he's barely brought up until, like, more recent One Piece talks about him a lot more. Yeah, like that. So it goes Joy Boy, Gold Roger, and like, hey, Noland and Garp, Dragon, somewhere around there.
That's the thing. Garp was like a real OG.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Garp gets his due at least. Like Noland doesn't get the due. I feel like he deserves.
That's the thing. No one recognizes.
So like this is just cool because like the worst generation, they came here. Big Mom just fucking wipes them all out. Like actually, it says they didn't even get to Big Mom. Just her crew wipes out these supernovas that come around. Which is
You know what the difference is? They're not gonna be king of the motherfucking pirates.
that's the hope. So like the longer the story comes along, the more clear it becomes. Like no, the supernovas weren't really rivals. If they were rivals, they were just there because Luffy would one day like surpass them by quite a bit.
Yeah.
He's built different, and there might be some weird prophecy shit. Like the Minks are like, "Yo, we trust this guy with our life." Now, I will say, they all fail. A rogue managed to at least beat one of the 4 generals. That's fucking. A rogue doesn't do shit all in the story, I feel like, but hey, I gotta give him the shoutouts here.
I know, like when I read that, I was like, let's fucking go.
That's fun.
My man.
Boy. Another Smash Bros. Announcement. A rogue is playable in Pirate Warriors 4.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah.
He's one of the odd ones because like they have to extrapolate a lot of his moveset.
Yeah, I feel like we've only seen him attack people like twice.
The only other time we saw him was on the cloud watching Kaido try to kill himself.
Yeah. To be fair, they do a pretty good job of giving him a cool moveset. I mean, it's Omega Force is always good
And
with these movesets.
The number one thing I'm worried about with Pirate Warriors 4 is seeing some of these characters in color. Is there just a black and white mode?
I was saying, so Bradley didn't realize that the Germa kids had colored hair. I didn't either until, like, I think near the end of the arc. Because, again, I didn't read this one weekly. So after I was, like, a good chunk in or done, I was like, hey, let's look at, like, some anime content or, like, some fan art. And I'm like, what the fuck? Blue hair Niji? Now that I'm used to it, I love their colored hairs. But you know what? Like, Oda... He fucks up some of the colorings. I'm just gonna call it what it is.
Yeah. I just like Sanji doesn't make sense, and I'll come up later as to why. But
yeah, a little bit. But then again, he's a failure, so like maybe his hair didn't come out how it was supposed to. We'll go with that.
Look, if
This
you're
is
not
how
a
we
Rocky,
do.
don't fuck with the colors too much, all right?
I will say, Pirate Warriors has very pretty colors, and they have some alternate costs. I think you'll be happy. The uglier ones didn't make the cut. Like, there's a character called Queen we meet later, and I hate.
Fuck that guy.
So
also, I love that guy. But fuck him,
he's the best.
He's a crime against nature.
Cracker here predicts Sanji's words. He's like predicting what Sanji's gonna say when he meets Luffy, and he's pretty much spot on, as we'll get to later. And, like, I feel like this is the first time Luffy's having some doubts about like what Sanji feels right now, and it's all gonna come to a head. Don't insult Sanji, like, he would never speak to us like that. Like, yeah, Luffy's on board for, like, Sanji would never be that kind of guy.
Yeah.
We get introduced to True Form Cracker, and he looks like a little shit, and I love it. It's a good design.
Dude.
Cracker is playable in Pirate Warriors, and we call him
he has to be.
We call him Sex Junior because his moveset feels so... Bradley, you cannot understand how good it is to control this man.
How many playable characters are in that bitch?
Over 40.
50? 40? 50?
Because there's the
With
DLC.
the DLC.
There's the DLC that added 9. So, like, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Cracker is super fun because, like, he summons a bunch of biscuit soldiers, and you can also, like, don the biscuit armor, and, like, it completely changes his moveset, and he can do, like, his like, stabbing sword attacks. He feels great.
Yeah, like, there's a lot of, like, Beige is
Beige is playable.
Like,
we didn't note that Beige is also playable.
Beige is like a summoning character where he summons dudes, but he doesn't feel nearly as good. But Cracker can do both, where he like summons dudes to fight for him, and he has his own like basic attacks that feel really good. So you can basic attack some of the dudes, and you can just start like ping ponging people back and forth between you and your Crackers. It's so good.
Weird note, I found a really cool build for Beige I like in that game. Alright, we're getting off track. The whole point with Cracker is, like, he overwhelms you with volume of biscuits, and they're all hard as shit. We get some more Mirror World stuff, which I love the design of this fucking place.
Oh yeah,
a-
it's fucking wacky.
and I can understand it more than Pax Mirror World. I'll give it that, but the rules are a little looser, and yeah, Chopper's a vestige now. Good shit.
Let's go.
Let's go. More world building because the country that they just went to, which is called Broccoli, was in ruins. Was another victim of the fall of Doflamingo. So like you can imagine, we even had some panels where like this, where it's like, shit, Doflamingo's done. Where are we gonna get our weapons from? So like, Doflamingo's impact in the story is so good to me because like it reverberates.
We're still seeing waves.
Yeah, so about that Nazi talk.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably where I got it.
My note here is yikes imagery.
The throne, come on.
Okay.
Like, can you imagine Judge had to like specifically go to one of his workers and be like, I want a big ass fucking throne that looks like a demon head, and I want to sit in the demon's mouth, and it's gonna look black and it's gonna look really scary.
I'm gonna look so cool.
I want to point out that the fucking siblings have like numbered seats.
They got like Austin Power like number seats, like it's this weird mix of Power Rangers and Nazi, which is like such a cool aesthetic. I can't believe it.
It's such an inverse to the idea of Power Rangers. I think that's really good.
Yeah, villain Power Rangers. I love it because like they're like they're high tech ass Nazis, like straight up, and we're gonna get into like straight up cloning and eugenics in a little bit, so it's about to get uglier.
Shit.
But it's worth also noting here that they say that like they're kind of like a kingdom that's barely recognized, and then the next revelry, which we've talked about the revelry previous in the story, it's like a big meeting of all the kings and queens.
Yeah,
and maybe we'll get to even see that in the story.
I want to point out that I think potentially the North Blue is like in the background here.
Maybe
in these circles.
Maybe. I mean, their target is the North Blue. At the end of the day, they want to rule that.
You know what? Makes sense.
They got those big ends, but yeah.
I feel like what's in the North Blue stopping them? I guess the fucking Marines, duh.
Whatever Kingdom Brooks worked for.
I need to know about that. We're gonna hold on. We'll circle back to that in a second. But yeah, they're like, I think by the next revelry, they're gonna kind of like uninvite us. They're gonna unfriend us on the not Facebook, on the Meta, as it's called now. So we get into this fantastic interaction of like. They're shit talking Sanji. It's like, oh man, we weren't sure what ditch we'd find you in. Niji, I'm just gonna throw that out. Niji's my favorite of the brothers. He is so mean. Like, he is like, oh man, Yonji's annoying, Niji's mean, and Ichiji's cool. And like that's kind of like the small personality they're allowed to have. And Sanji's all about like, finish your fucking food. I don't like wasted food. And Niji's like, fuck it. He throws it on the ground and throws it at the waitress. Mm-hmm. And, like, everything that is happening right now is so counter to Sanji. Like, it's an interaction that just is completely the opposite of everything Sanji stands for. And it's just like, this is the worst family. Like, you can completely understand why Sanji would never even bring them up. He is just disgusted by everything this family even stands for. And, I mean, they also bully the shit out of him, which we'll get to. Like, it's really tough to see scenes.
Yeah.
Sanji eating it off the ground, though, like, oh, what a sweet boy. Like, oh, look how like, surprised the cook is. It's so cute. Whoa, nasty!
Not that Nazi imagery. So funny.
Sanji's got face immunity. They're like, not the face. It's just, I love when people stop their attacks like right before they hit someone and there's a big shockwave behind. Always looks cool. Mm-hmm. Now, when Daddy's gone, they might revoke this little no face rule and it might get ugly. Yeah. So like, how do you feel like what we've seen so far of Germa contrasts with like Sanji? Do you think it feels forced out of nowhere? Do you think it's like not really going anywhere? Do you think it's like working well for the character? Because this is clearly an arc about Sanji almost primarily.
Yeah, I'm glad it's happening because I feel like each Straw Hat needs to get like an arc to them. Sometimes they get it in the arc that they join the crew, sometimes they don't get it till later. Like, Luffy gets
Yeah.
kind of his own development arc halfway through the story, and it's mostly a flashback.
Yeah.
And it's about time. I think we got the Sanji one, and
An interesting point that I pointed out to Willer is that all of the crew members whose flashbacks happen later in the story, or like their big kind of backstory happens later in the story, their title of introduction was just their name and not a title associated with them. So like Roronoa Zoro got introduced as Pirate Hunter Zoro, whereas Nami got introduced as just Nami, and then you get her backstory a few arcs later.
I wonder if that holds. I wonder if that holds true for all of them.
Yeah, but I just think it's interesting that they're done that way.
I will say though, who do you think the Barati arc was mainly about? Because I also argued that was mostly an arc about Sanji. Still,
it was, but like it wasn't like his full-fledged like kind of backstory. As we find out,
it's mostly a question for Bradley because, like, as we find out. But back then, it was like this is a good it was a serviceable, good backstory. So I actually think we need to look at this different. Like Sanji had his arc, but Oda has now opened up the floor for secondary Straw Hat arcs, which to me is an even cooler idea because if it's gonna be a long 1,200 chapter story. And you're gonna make it so the characters are like semi-static. They're gonna keep their core personalities. I think it's cool to spread out like focal arcs at both ends of that spectrum, which is why I think like all of the initial 5 Straw Hats at least will get a secondary arc at some point. I think we're currently potentially getting Zoro's, but it's a little weird right now.
Yeah, you know what? If like the entire second half of One Piece is gonna be like a reflection of the first half. In the first half, Sanji had, like, his actual family.
Yeah.
And this one is, like, his actual family.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very intentional point as well. And, like, places where I think we can go, like, Nami has a parentage that we don't really know about. And also, there's her time as a thief. But I think what's more interesting is that Bellamere found her in a war-torn country. So I feel like there's some cool stuff that could come out of that. And while Brook is not one of the original 5, I feel like I'm the only person who, like... In like people who like theorize about One Piece that remembers like his line about being a musketeer for a North Blue Kingdom. I'm like, that feels like there's some stories you could tell there. Also, he's clearly an OG as we talk about. I mean, we're gonna see that with Big Mom later. Yeah, I feel like they could go places with that.
And you know what? This arc, I think most of all, is kind of exemplifying a running theme that we've talked about in One Piece. And it happens quite often, especially like, just kind of the theme of found family with, we see, Luffy's flashback. And I think it becomes especially true for Sanji here where all these people, their real family at the end of the day is like the Straw Hats. A lot of them they'll have people they love elsewhere, or they might have biological family members still alive, but, the Straw Hats fucking ride or die for each other. They'll sail around the world and beat a bunch of ass to get you back.
Yeah, I feel like Alabasta, for example, focuses a lot on friendship in general, but this arc is very hard on family. And, like, by having... This is the first arc where we're dealing with one of the crewmates' family explicitly, right? So I feel like that Oda's trying to hammer that side. Like, they're all friends, but let's be real, they also become family. But yeah, I on the topic of like future Straw Hat arcs, I think everyone theorizes Elbaf, if we go there, is going to be an Usopp centric arc. So yeah, this is clearly like a Sanji arc, but there's some other main characters. I feel like this arc's big on Sanji, Luffy, Big Mom, and Katakuri, and like those are like the main characters of this arc. Maybe throw Pudding in there. But we'll talk about some of those other main those other main characters are more relevant in the second half. Right, so they're blackmailing Sanji, and you get like this little sequence of Zeph being mean to Sanji, but then you also smash cut to his final lines. And this is one of the saddest goodbyes in One Piece for some reason, because just like having an old gruff man like Zeph, just give such a subtle, like nice goodbye to Sanji, and then Sanji's like clearly such a proud asshole when we first meet him, but seeing him break down like this always stuck with me in the Baratier arc. And like it's just coming full circle in such a good way where it's like, I really miss my real dad, man. Like, shit.
I think it also recontextualizes the weight of this
moment
scene, because now we understand that, like, well, it gets more introduced later in this arc, but like looking at it now, it's like, oh, Sanji originally grew up with a horrendous family that did not care for him, would rather just lock him up, have him put an iron mask on and never be thought of again. And he then gets a second chance with Zeph, who does everything in his power to like make him a cook, make him a good man, and just really bring him back up from like this like feeling of I am worth nothing to anybody. I'm not worthy of being in this world, and you brought back up to here. And now when he leaves, he's now officially like leaving the safety of like his actual home to go on this adventure, you know?
Yeah.
So you have this, you're realizing that like, it's just a tremendous amount of trauma that Sanji's now having to deal with, being thrown back into the situation.
Yeah. With his father's life on the line. And it's like,
yeah,
this is why I also like, I love One Piece rereads. Cause like, maybe even for Bradley, who's going through this the first time, but like this recontextualizes the Barati arc and their relationship. It's like, man, like just when it's all going to be said and done, this is going to be such a beautiful story that like just like loops back around in itself, and like even some of those earlier arcs where Oda was still kind of getting the hanging of his writing get much stronger because of like these most recent arcs, which I think is good when a story is going to be this long, you know? You want stuff like that. This girl gets beat the fuck up, Jesus. Like, Oda...
This was hard to look at, dude.
Oda usually holds back on the women, but this is why you shouldn't. Because, like, it's such a horrifying imagery that, like, perfectly gets you in the mindset of Sanji. Sanji, who would never dare, like, lay a finger on a woman, and it's like he sees this and his own brother did that. Like, that must drive him insane. Which leads them to them finally throwing hands. But before that...
eugenics.
Fucking clones, man. Like, floating restaurants used to be weird. Like, floating islands used to be weird. Did you expect fucking clones in One Piece?
No, and this is what really sold to me that, like, among the other nations in the world, Germa 66 is, like... This is why they are powerful. They are so much more advanced than everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, like... I feel like, because it's mentioned later that Judge worked with Vegapunk in this researcher group. So he must have gone into, like, they've all been doing crazy advanced shit, like Caesar's growing giants, and, like, they're making crazy weapons that are live big slimes. And here we have someone who took another route. We got cyborgs in one corner, and here we got clones. And
so this leads into my pacifista theory a little bit with Bartholomew Kuma, like basically like they like he's like all those pacifistas are almost like half clones because they need something to like equip the pacifista's power in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Which is why they needed him in the first place.
But
I don't know, man. I think there's like a because they work together on this, so it makes sense that he uses this technology because why make it Bartholomew Kuma again? Unless you need like his physical appearance for something.
You know what? That's a good point. Like, why would they make the pacifistas have to look like Kuma? Like, you're not fooling.
And all the same.
Like, you're not fooling anyone when you see 3 Kumas. It's like, oh, this isn't Warlord Kuma. This is fucking robots or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like if clones are to come back in the world government side, we have yet to see them, but we might see them, Joe. With
yeah, I know.
Yeah, I feel like that there's like a smoking gun we're ready to see in the current storyline, and I feel like that might be related. Like, this is such it's such an uncomfortable conversation. Like, Sanji, humans can be built. Like, this also completely changes how Judge would look at human beings if this is what he's into. Like, of course he would be willing to, like, experiment on his own children and make an army of soldiers who, by the way, the clones do not know they're clones. Only the scientists and the higher-up Germas would know. Like, this is how they can manipulate lives like this when, like, whenever you look at humans as something you can easily build in, like, 3 months, I think that devalues human life, and this is where Germa starts getting like particularly dark and Nazi potentially. But Vegapunk discovers a great discovery. What was the presence of bloodline elements in living things? It was very nearly a step into the realm of godhood. I think this is a huge lore drop that has a lot of implications in the world of One Piece. This seems to be like, I'm not gonna say it's DNA. I'm gonna say it's the One Piece version of DNA because like these are obviously like weird humans. And I'm sure you've noticed, Bradley, but like whenever Oda's giving blood types, they're like weird, like X and RF, like they're not A, B, O. So I'm gonna say like this is something akin to DNA, but this also might explain like superhuman traits in One Piece and like tribes like the long necks and the giants that are technically humans but are not, and the minks. It's kind of cool because this leaves Oda an avenue to, like, if he wants to explain some of the more bizarre parts of One Piece, he's kind of laid the groundwork for it if he wants to. I mean, they could stay, like, it might just always be it is what it is kind of scenarios, but this is cool. Also, you could look at this like, I think bloodline elements come up some other times in the story in relating to like devil fruits potentially and stuff like that. So like it's something to keep an eye out for. Someone had a theory that like pacifistas and all laser technology is like research into Kizaru's fruit, and like maybe they took his light human DNA and applied it to weaponry. Like there's weird shit that could come out of this plot element. So I think it's
even.
Ooh. I mean it's even says bloodline, which would imply maybe even a familial bloodline. Yeah, so like reset the Vegapunk clock. He was mentioned. This is like clearly the biggest carrot on a stick that I think I've seen in any manga. Like the fan base is gonna come when they finally get to see Vegapunk.
Dude, I want Vegapunk in like a fucking Doom guy or a Metroid power suit.
Nah, he's gonna be a fucking goofball. He's gonna be the weirdest looking dude that's ever existed in One Piece.
I mean, let's put in our theories now. Yeah, like, what do you think Vegapunk's gonna look like? You think he's gonna be weird?
He's gonna be Professor Membrane from Invader Zim.
I think he's gonna have a really goofy design. I
think his design will be akin to Professor Finkelstein, I think is his name, from Nightmare Before Christmas.
Nightmare Before Christmas?
Wheelchair, big head man. That's what
I was thinking. Wanze. It's Wanze's brother.
Shut the fuck up.
I just wanted to like super over engineer everything for no reason. In Invader Zim when Dib's dad like has all this heavy machinery and you see all this lightning and fire and he's like, I made toast.
So the thing is, Zim's dad looks cool, so like Vegapunk looking cool would be interesting, and like he has a bunch of really cool tech. Yeah, I'm just one day. Sanji finally gives him the leg. It's interesting here. What I like about this kick is that like you can tell like Niji's not getting blown back very far. He's kind of like resisting, and this is just like a cool way to show like their weird metalish skin that these kids have, where like they're basically indestructible.
And man, let me know if I'm tripping, but on that kick, like I'm not gonna say every time, but I feel like a lot of times, even if Sanji's fighting a bad guy, he actually, I feel like quite often has a very cool, calm look on his face while he's kicking. I feel like he's like really putting.
Yeah,
that's a good point. How often does Sanji not look cool while attacking?
He wants to beat this fucker's ass.
Well, he always looks cool. He looks more intense.
Collected. We'll go with collected. Yeah. Suave. Yo, this sucks. Like
this is the worst, man.
I'm not gonna say this is the saddest flashback, but it might be the most abusive flashback in One Piece. They beat the shit out of little Sanji, and the thing is, these are strong as adults. That's actually an interesting point that I haven't connected till now. Giving children the strength that is stronger than adults, and letting them abuse it is something that will also feed into the Big Mom story. I see what you're doing, Oda. You're building themes in front of me that I don't notice until I reread.
What if this guy's Vegapunk? I don't think he is, but that'd be kind of just absurd that he just got dropped in the middle of this flashback.
No.
This
Some
big
dude.
lip guy.
He's just some dude.
Yeah.
So they find out Sanji's a weak failure, which, like, so how do you feel about the story that, like, Sanji's from a genetically engineered family? Do you think, like, that's weird?
Man, it's not weird, but I so did not see it coming.
Yeah, this is one where it's like, I don't know if there's any foreshadowing for this until pretty recently, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to look back on it.
But it's not unwelcome.
I feel like Sanji might have said some stuff in Punk Hazard about science, maybe, and had to, like, go back and reread it. What I really love about it is just, like, the idea, like, how the cool concept of, like, yeah, 3 of them came out great, and Reiju as well, and Sanji's just a little fuck-up who, like, the only joy in his life is cooking for little mice and trying to feed it to his mom, and judges...
And you know what? Like, Sanji's always kind of known just a lot about the world.
It's true.
And, you know, I think he chalked it up to, like, oh, you know, a bunch of pirates come through Baradier on their travels around the world. But, like, Germa is a traveling nation that can even cross the red line. So I think it makes sense that even at a young age, Sanji probably would have just seen a lot of the world by then.
Yeah.
I think that, and he spends a lot of time reading. There's multiple, like, he even talks about, like, I think this is where he gets the Devil Fruit book.
Yeah.
And reads about it.
That's a really good point. This is where Sanji's reading about the invisibility fruit. Oh, that gives it another layer where it's like not just perverse. Maybe he just doesn't want to like be seen by his family and his dad.
Oh.
That's really sad. God damn it.
I just also remembered another foreshadowing Oda did for the whole larger family thing is back in Thriller Bark when Kuma shows up and they're talking about like, you know,
Yes.
Someone needs to take Luffy's punishment, and Zoro says to do it. Sanji comes up and goes like, "You have to be me, because if you don't take me out now, something worse is going to come chasing after me."
He straight up says like, "My bounty's not a big deal right now, but I'm going to be a real big problem in the future."
Yeah, referring to Germa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oda's definitely had like maybe not the whole science idea in mind, but definitely like that his family would be a big deal.
Yeah.
And again, it feeds so well where it's like, so he can't be a fighter, but he can cook for his mom, but Judge doesn't allow it, so it's more reasons why when Sanji's finally freed, he goes immediately, like, it was always kind of weird in that Sanji flashback, which is why, like, multiple layers of this could have been planned earlier, where it's like, why did he go become a chef? Like, he was a chef in a random ship, and then he got straightened with Zeph, and then he became a chef for Zeph. So, like, as soon as he got out, he immediately went to go become a chef. So, like, it's cool how well this feeds into that. And this is just, like, huge Ugly Duckling vibes, but also, like, a weird Duval connection. Like,
well, I think this is more of a Three Musketeers in the Iron Mask reference from Alexandre de Dumas, because we have the Musketeers from Zoe coming in to rescue the poor boy. You have a lot of chivalrous things going on here with the women and the weddings, and you have the political power struggling going on.
That is a deep hole, and I think you're right.
Yeah, and it's all about heritage too. So, like, because Sanji's put away because they don't want to find out that he's an actual like heir to this throne potentially, which is a plot line of the Man in the Iron Mask.
That's cool.
But yeah.
Good share. But also kind of weird. Duval also wore an iron mask, just throwing it out
That's
there.
also really weird. I will admit that too. I'm sure it's both.
It's like there's nothing to. Oh my god. There's a couple comments where I'm just like, Judge. Like the fact that his kids probably like, I don't know if they're capable of love. I think he took out all positive emotions that they can really have. But they probably feel the closest thing they can to love for Judge. And then you just see Sanji, like, having to dine alone, and his family just forgets he exists until his brothers come in there and fucking prison shank him. Like, and Judge is just smiling like a proud-ass dad. He doesn't deserve it. Like, Judge is so fucking punchable. Oh. Fuck that guy. Great character. This scene's sweet. Sanji feeds his mom some shit. Also, his mom's a cutie. Females have a very interesting place in Sanji's life. Well, so his mom was like his only the only way that he had like any freedom from the horrible life that he had early on, but then also Reiju's the reason why he escaped. And then Zeph goes on to teach him the values of like showing respect to women. So like there's a 3-beat here of like Sanji's a gross pervert, but he also genuinely respects women as well, which is like
To a degree.
He doesn't always do the best at it, but you know. I want to talk about Sora's morality a little bit. And maybe now's not the time. Maybe we can do it when we talk about what she did to ensure that Sanji was a failure. But I like, she comes off as a very sweet mom, but she's married to Judge. So I'm trying to reconcile in my mind, like, what's going on through her head. Because the thing, so remind me, Bradley, you might remember this. This scene is taking place before Sanji's in the cage. Up until this point, Sora's been dead since the start of the flashback.
Yeah, this is the flashback within the flashback.
Yeah, this is a younger Sanji. Okay.
Yeah.
So like what I can picture is like the scenario is she marries into like Judge as a princess and queen. And while she has, like, a good heart, she's also aware that she's, like, in a warring family. But I think back then, they didn't do the cloning experiments yet. Because, like, I feel like Sora wouldn't be totally okay with the cloning experiments if they were a thing from way back when. So I think the way it goes is, like, they had good science and weaponry and, like, human research, and they found the bloodline elements. And then the first experiments were these kids. Like, the first human experiments were the children. And it's later explained that Sora did not want that to happen, but Judge forced it. So I think the point I'm trying to get is, like, Judge wasn't as bad until he, like, came up with the idea to experiment on the kids as, like, maybe he was desperate and they weren't making any headway into taking over the kingdoms that he wanted to. So he's like, all right, we're going to start experimenting hardcore. And we're going to do it with my own children because I know they're going to have strong genes and whatnot. I don't know if that makes sense to y'all, but that's how I could see this working.
Like, maybe he used to be all right, but, like...
Yeah, like,
maybe... He became obsessed with everything that Germa lost and wanted to get it back.
Yeah, like, maybe not all right, but, at worst, like, a Dalinar-esque, like, warmonger. And then he goes straight into, like, mad scientist mode. And I noted that, like, this is after she dies. It also would explain that, like, Judge is as mean to Sanji because Sanji, like, caused his wife's death. Well, actually, you caused it, Judge, because you forced her to go through the procedure, but then, like, also the medicine she took also messed up her body even more, as is revealed later. So it's, like, he also resents Sanji for, like, if I killed my own wife, at least all 5 of you could have been, like, a successful experiment. Like, you're just a reminder that I did that to my wife. So that, I think, feeds into that he wasn't always as bad as we see in the start of this flashback. I don't know. We don't get to see that far back, so we just have to kind of speculate. And then the kids find Sanji and beat the shit out of him in the prison, and he can't escape, and he just has to take it, and they're way stronger than him, and it's really messed up. We find out Reiju here, like, she was kept most of her emotions, but she, like, Reiju's an interesting character. I think we could save some discussion on her, but I think the point that we're supposed to take away as far as this goes is, like, she's not completely emotionless and can make some decisions on her own. She does say later that she can't disobey Judge, so that might be a bit of a plot hole, because, like, maybe it's like I can't disobey, like, a direct order, and, like, Judge isn't directly ordering her not to free Sanji. So maybe that works that way. Yeah, this is the first, like, the kingdom splits up and can straight up travel through the fucking red line, which also explains why Sanji ended up in the East Blue of all places, because they were doing some missions over there around that time. It's all coming together. And just, like, Judge is not even mad that Sanji's leaving. Like, this might be the cruelest thing of all. At least for me, this is the part that kind of hurt the most, where it's like, fine, leave, I don't care. I just have one request. Don't even mention to anyone that I'm your father. Like, like, I want nothing to do with you. It's so disgusting. Like, and it's being done to a child. It's your own fucking
That's
son.
fucked up. It's like, on one hand, it's already fucked up if the dad would be angry, but then like, it's another level of fucked up that he's not even angry.
That's the thing. Like
you can just go. I don't even care.
Like, we see Zeph's parenting a little bit more in the future, and it's like he's being really hard on Sanji, but it's because he cares. Like, he's giving Sanji attention, and I very harshly contrast with Judge, where it's like, you could be invisible for all I care, which fits even more to Sanji invisibility, wanting that power kind of idea. Like, you could not exist for all I care. Just don't let anyone know we're connected. Like, you're not even worth killing. Ugh. Judge is a different kind of fucked up. And Reiju finally frees her brother, and she hits him with the line, "You'll find people who are good to you. Now run, don't turn back." Very reminiscent of what Saul told to Robin.
I was just thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. And Sanji was so sympathetic for Robin that arc. Like, even beyond his simp-ass self, he was like, a man trusts a woman's lie. But, like, he really went out of his way to, like, get on the train and, like, make sure Robin... He took it on himself to, like, kind of even leave the crew a little bit and do his own thing as far as helping Robin. So it's like, it's just cool that they both had similar motivations for going out into the world and not even knowing it. And yeah, they beat the shit out of Sanji again. The way Oda transitions in and out of flashbacks is a work of art. It's like Brandon Sanderson level, where it's like that flashback ended with like a scene of Sanji getting beaten up by his brothers and then being emotionally harassed by his dad, and then we come back and his brothers just finished beating him up. Oh, and Reiju comes back right after and fixes him up, so it's just perfect parallels. Which brings us back to the Cracker fight. How we doing time-wise? We can finish the Cracker fight and call it. Which, hey, we got pretty far, I think.
Yeah.
It's a pretty long arc, so it's hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
Nami's Vivre card is revealed here. Do you feel like this is too convenient? Because in some ways it is.
I guess it's all right.
What do you mean? She's been doing this for the past like 3 or 4 chapters in this fight with the Vivre card.
I'm just talking about it now. I'm just talking about the Vivre card plot as a whole. The thing is, like, when we're talking about souls and like Vivre cards are linked to someone's life force, that works for me. It's just like the fact that she can harass and control the homies, basically. If she could paralyze them, it'd be one thing, but she can like manipulate them like emotionally and mentally. I feel like that's one step too far.
Yeah.
I feel like the mirror world is pretty plot gimmicky, but like I think that works better for me because they're holding Brule hostage and forcing her to help them. While here it's like this Vivre card has a lot of sway over y'all. Now, to be fair, they also mention it's like we give these Vivre cards to like not even the children. So like Lola like had to like steal it to get it. So like it's clearly not something Big Mom gives out willingly. So I think that works better because it's so rare. So one more to like Straw Hats calling Luffy the Pirate King, always good. And interestingly, another theme that's kind of like a loose theme in this arc is Luffy winning with gluttony. And I don't know, maybe y'all can help me out. Maybe there's some other characters in this arc that are like also connected by the theme of gluttony. So like
Big Mom, perhaps.
Big Mom, perhaps. So I feel like Oda is gonna do some interesting things to contrast Luffy and Big Mom, but also show a lot of similarities between them. And then we can maybe explore, like, yes, they're similar in these ways, but they're also different in all these ways. But yeah, he has to eat his way out of this fight, which leads into Gear 4 Tank Man. But before that, I was mentioning, like, in this scene, like, Zeph straight up calls himself a parent, and it's like, oh, this is such, like, a beautiful scene to add in after everything we've seen that happened to Sanji, like, just reinforcing that theme that he had a real dad, and Sanji's aware, like, Sanji even says at some point where it's like, I have a father, and it's not you. Like, it's so good. So, I love how Luffy finishes this fight. It's like, Luffy's actually quite intelligent throughout this fight, because he eats his way through, and it's funny because like Luffy is someone we've known to where he can eat and nonstop, right? But even in this fight, he's like, Nami, I can't fucking keep doing it, man. I'm too full. If Luffy's hitting his limit, you already know, like we're in a serious situation. But in this finale, he has Nami not use her rain technique, which, by the way, this was a Luffy-Nami team-up fight, which never has happened before, pretty much, aside from, like...
Jesus.
Like, maybe Boogie? Like, it's just so cool that we're so far into the series, and sure, Nami's not the greatest fighter, but she's a great support. I think Oda does a great job at letting the weaker Straw Hats play support in a meaningful way, but I feel like because Nami didn't beat him himself, people don't really recognize this as like a cool feat for Nami. But to finish Cracker off, he's like, Nami, don't turn him soft. And then he just launches Cracker through 3 of the extremely hard Cracker soldiers. So it's like he went through like 3 steel walls and then is launched all the way into the Whole Cake Palace, which is just a fantastic final hit.
Like, nobody draws impacts like Oda does.
He fucking we're not gonna get into the Sanji Luffy fight, but if you want to talk about impact, man, Oda's a fucking monster.
I just want to point out that Cracker can beat Doflamingo. That's about it.
Yeah. While we're at it, Cracker can beat Doflamingo's ass. This is something me and Joe will constantly remind people because if you remember, Doflamingo got absolutely fucking rocked by Gear 4. He got tossed around the fucking city. He only had a chance because Luffy ran out of time, and then he had the 10 minutes where he could beat up on Luffy. But here, Cracker effortlessly handles Gear 4, and it takes like an alternate form of Gear 4 to beat him, and Nami's help. So, Dofi fans, sorry about you.
I'll say at this point, like a general of an emperor seems to be like a
Warlord level,
perhaps higher rank than Warlord of the Sea.
Yeah,
I'd say so.
Which is terrifying because think about that, Bradley, when Luffy has to eventually go up against Big Mom.
It's like when you think about it, like, man, like the first couple 100 chapters of the story, Warlords of the Sea were like oh my god, they're like the biggest of the fucking biggest. And then now, like, even generals of the 4 emperors just probably would not consider a warlord a threat.
It'd be a good fight. I'll be nice to Dofi and say it would be a good fight. But it's like, I will say, I think Mihawk is still stronger than any of the
Mihawk hits different, though.
Yeah, Mihawk is on a whole different level.
Mihawk emperors continue to draw breath on this earth because Mihawk allows them to live.
This is not a joke. Mihawk is like Admiralty. I don't want to get into power scaling, but just like narratively speaking, Mihawk is clearly the strongest warlord.
Warlord.
And is probably still a threat to this day. But we'll get to...
It reminds me of Chase Young from Challenge Showdown,
really
where I'm
does.
just like, thank God that he's a relatively chill dude. Otherwise, he could just wreck everything.
Oh, man. I can't wait till Zoro beats him in the current timeline and not in the past.
Joe, continue this guy.
That wraps up the time. That wraps
Willard
up.
thinks Mihawk versus Zoro hasn't happened yet.
Stop. We're done. We're actually done with the episode. That's an hour and a half. I don't know how many chapters we got through, but it feels like it.
We're on 843.
I want to talk about this page right here, though.
Yeah, this page is so cool. Go.
Because this is the page where, like, my stomach sank. Because, number one, Big Mom already had, like, the most intimidating introduction of a character in One Piece for me. Kaido's, like, barely right behind her, but something about that panel of her laying in the dark, she looks so cartoonish, but so terrifying. And then, enough time has gone on. It's been a couple 100 chapters since we saw that panel. I'm like, okay, well, what does Big Mom do, really? Is she just really big and really strong?
And then also you see her, and she's just like a big fat lady, and that kind of softens the blow.
And so, you see the soul fruit, and that's where, like, I'm starting to teeter on the edge. I'm like, okay, soul fruit in One Piece could do a lot of different things. What are we looking at here? And then I see this panel, and I'm just like, how do you know, man? Like, I could just see her wreaking havoc on multiple islands at once, just fucking firing.
Like, also look at Prometheus and Zeus in this panel. They look so badass. They look like they look like a goofy sun and cloud, and now they look like fucking Hellspawn. It's so cool. And Napoleon is just he's mean mugging. He's doing what he can.
So, not to give too much spoilers, but we put, I think Big Mom in like our top 10. Like, was she 5 or 6 or something like that?
We put Big Mom as our second favorite character of One Piece.
Damn, let's go.
That might be a bit too high for her, but she still should be up there, I think.
I don't. Well, it's only that high because you wouldn't let me put Katakuri higher, but she's easily top 5. I think she's so cool.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, so far, this one of the 4 emperors does not disappoint.
Oh yeah,
fucking awesome.
There's a panel of Big Mom later in this arc that's Junji Ito tier. It's just so scary.
Let's go,
man. You know what? Fuck it. We're gonna go up to now. Should we do the Sanji fight? There's a lot to talk about here. We've been doing 130. I'm gonna give y'all the right of way here. We could start at the Sanji
I feel
fight.
like this leads into so much other stuff, though.
I want to save the Sanji fight for when we get to the window scene as well.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be best if they were all at once. All right.
Yeah.
We end it here. Big Mom's scary. She controls the weather. You know who else controls the weather? Nami.
Yeah.
Not at that level.
Fire art so far.
We're about to hit what I could like. I was rereading the next chapter, and I was like, "Is this the best chapter in One Piece?" I want you to come back whenever we do this again and think of what your favorite chapter of One Piece is.
No, the best chapter of One Piece is when fucking what's his name on the cold level of Impel Down fights the wolves.
Oh shit. So it's that Usopp versus Luffy and this one. They're up there. They're all up there for me. And
Usopp versus Luffy.
There's so many. Like, it's hard to think of your favorite single chapter, but like there's some good, strong contenders. Oh, thank you for reminding me about Bon Clay in level 5. That's such a
man. You never forget about that.
I never forget. All right,
that's all we got.
All right. Goodbye. We're good. Next time.
Bye.